Hello everyone, Titanium Taco here, and today I'm gonna show you guys my minifigure collection. We're gonna be focusing on the side characters and the supporting cast of the Ninjago world, so without further ado, let's get into it. Our first character here is Msako. When Msako was first introduced, it was quite a while since we actually got the actual Msako minifigure. This minifigure came in the Air Jitsu Temple set, so nowadays it is a little bit harder to get this Msako minifigure. Overall, the detail on this figure is really awesome. The figure was introduced with two face prints. I do wish there was a little bit more contrast between the facial expressions, because one's kind of just neutral and the other one's a little bit more happier than the neutral face, but nonetheless still a pretty good figure. Later on, we did get a second iteration of this minifigure, which I think is just awesome, but this time she's got a jacket over her original torso. It's just kind of unfortunate that we actually never got to see this minifigure in the actual show, because it would be nice to see this figure represented in the show, since this is now her new minifigure, or her newest minifigure. I would still prefer the other one over this one, but still a very solid Msako minifigure. And if you wanted to create a young Msako variant, all you have to do is erase some of the wrinkles on her face print, put it on her original minifigure, and you've got a young Msako. Next up, we got Jay's mom, Edna. Now this first Edna minifigure is a custom minifigure. There is a torso that is one-to-one to her original appearance, but this torso is a more modernized version of it, which I do like more, so that's why I'm using this torso to represent that version of her. The headpiece is actually the one used from the Ninjago movie. Edna was put in one of those sets when the Lego Ninjago movie released, so I was able to get a second one and put it on this torso to create that minifigure. She's got the one pretty neutral face print or smiley face with another scared face. Now this is the minifigure that we got in the Lego Ninjago movie, except the hairpiece was actually different. The hairpiece you saw in the last minifigure is actually the one that belongs to this minifigure, but when we saw this minifigure in the show, she had this hairpiece instead. So I just did a little swap to make both figures as accurate as possible. This particular Edna figure is also just very detailed and really awesome actually. Next up we have Jay's dad, Mr. Ed himself. Now again, this first one is a custom minifigure that I used using minifigure parts of other minifigures. Similar with Edna, it uses the same Lego Ninjago movie minifigure head that was introduced for this character. This character also has two face prints, one again with a pretty smiley face and the other one more scared. My only gripe with the face print is that the eyebrows are inaccurate to his show counterpart, but this is what we got from the Lego Ninjago movie. Which, speaking of the Lego Ninjago movie, this is the official minifigure that we got. This minifigure was also put into the show way later on in Seabound, and honestly this is a really cool detailed minifigure as well. Gotta thank the Lego Ninjago movie for even giving us Ed and Edna. Next up is the man that builds Zane, Dr. Julian. This is another one of those figures that fans have wanted for quite a while and finally got this year in the Old Town. This is honestly a really fantastic minifigure and is pretty accurate to its show counterpart. The only downside is, of course, is that his coat doesn't actually go all the way down to his legs, so some printing there would have been nice. But it's honestly just great to have an official minifigure of this character. He also has two facial expressions for his face print that I think represent the character pretty accurately. Now we have the mailman. So this is the actual minifigure that we got way back when we also got the Msako minifigure, which came in the Air Jitsu Temple set. This is another one of those characters that fans wanted for a long time and finally got. The detailing on the face print and the torso of this minifigure is really awesome. There is just one small little detail missing, and that's his hat. So I created this variant that could apply the minifigure hair and the hat as well. So this is 100% an illegal Lego technique, but unfortunately you can't really fit the hair piece and the hat piece at the same time. So in order to do that, I did have to cut off the top part of the hair piece. Now we also got a second mailman minifigure earlier in the year with the Old Town, and this minifigure is pretty much identical to the previous minifigure that we got of him. The biggest difference is in the face print, where he actually doesn't have a mustache this time around, which is actually more accurate to his recent show appearance. Overall, great minifigure. Next up here is Gail Gossip. This character debuted way back in season 2, and we finally got her in 2023 in the Ninjago City Market set. The hairpiece actually doesn't belong to this particular minifigure. It does belong to the character, but the minifigure did not come with this hairpiece. The color of the hairpiece is inaccurate, but I'd rather have an inaccurate color as opposed to an inaccurate hairstyle. Her facial expressions on both sides of the face print also just fit the character really well. And it's actually really nice that this character even came with two facial expressions. And now we have Vinny of NGTV News. I did have to change a couple parts to make the figure more show accurate, for instance changing the pants and the face print, because unfortunately Vinny just has a generic face print in the show as well. Regardless of which, this is a really cool minifigure as well, and with this minifigure you could honestly keep making more NGTV News people as well. The next character we have is Msako.
So this is Mistake's figure debut, and I gotta say they almost had it. My biggest issue with this minifigure is the use of the generic old lady head print. Mistake just doesn't wear glasses, so it's unfortunate that that's the one that they included with this minifigure. The hair piece is also inaccurate to the show, but at the end of the day, you could boil down her look to just being an alternate look she has since she's an Oni and can shapeshift. We did get an updated minifigure of Mistake in the Old Town set as well, and the torso is nothing really special as we've seen this torso being used before, but we finally have a more show accurate face print, and that's honestly the biggest thing that we need for Mistake. Now there is this other great torso that I found that I think is slightly more accurate, so you could swap out the torso that she has in the Old Town for this one if you wanted to, and just like the mailman minifigure, you could cut the top part of the hair piece and put a hat piece on top of it. And using this combination, you could take that and remove the headpiece off the previous minifigure and have another version of Mistake like that. And this is just a quick custom minifigure of Mistake shapeshifting as Wu, which only appeared for like 2 seconds in Hunted. Now you may be thinking, why do I have a rat with Mistake? Well, because she shapeshifts as a rat. It's as simple as that. We also got an Oni variant of her in the Build a Minifigure at LEGO stores, and she uses the same torso as Garmadon, but does have a new face print. The Oni horns are custom though. Next up we have Darth. This is the first ever Darth minifigure that we got. Fantastic minifigure all around. He does have only the one face print, but hey, honestly, solid face print. The gold detail on this minifigure pops really well. And for this coming in a polybag set, I'm very happy that they included like printing. This next Darth minifigure came in the Air Jitsu Temple as well, and actually had a different face print. Unfortunately, the original face print of Darth didn't carry over, so I found this face print to be the most semi-accurate face print to what Darth sometimes looks like in the show. There is of course that Elvis looking face print that you could use and actually has been used for Darth, but my small issue with that one is the thickness of his eyebrows, and so I opted for this face print. But enough about the face print, let's talk about the torso, because this torso design is actually my favorite of all of the Darth minifigures. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have any like printing, but honestly the torso makes up for it. Then we got Bartender Darth, and honestly just really glad that we're able to add this minifigure to the collection, and the fact that we even got the bartender variant of Darth makes me hold out hope that we could even get the lawyer version of Darth. And honestly, this is just a solid representation of that minifigure from the show. Now, this Darth minifigure is a custom minifigure that uses a Star Wars figure. I did have to erase some of the printing off because the skin tone didn't match. And this is supposed to be Darth in season 9 when the ninja have to abandon their suits and stuff. And like the Mistake minifigure, we also got a new Darth minifigure in the Build a Minifigure in LEGO stores. Super amazing torso, and it's kind of a nice way to get that original minifigure today. Although these are not the official legs that we got with this minifigure, these are actually custom printed from Little Bear. But another great Darth minifigure to add to your collection. Next up we got the comic book guy, Mother Doomsday himself, and honestly I'm not going to spend too much time on this minifigure. He's a pretty cool minifigure. He has been a reoccurring character here and there. He was finally introduced in one of the LEGO Ninjago movie sets. Alas, it's not the most accurate minifigure, but it is kind of nice that they introduced the Skeletor torso for this minifigure. And we follow him up by the Warden. Now this minifigure is a custom printed minifigure, and you may be wondering why a custom printed minifigure if this police torso is actually an official piece. Well, the difference is that torso never comes without the badge, and the Warden doesn't have a badge. I was also able to take the head print from the mailman and erase the mustache off of him. Next up is a quick custom minifigure, which is the TV host from the Ninjago talent show in episode 9, The Royal Blacksmith. This particular hairpiece does not come in this specific color, which I actually did have to paint. Everything else uses existing parts. Next up is going to be Captain Soto. Now this is a custom Captain Soto minifigure that does use minifigure parts from other minifigures. This is honestly the best torso that looks the closest to the official look of Captain Soto. The head print is of course an official Captain Soto minifigure head, and I do also want to say that the face print of this Captain Soto minifigure is absolutely fantastic and captures this character very well. And the hat is also using the official one that was introduced for this character. Now this is the actual official minifigure that we got. He actually didn't come with the hook, so that's actually something I added. I'm not going to spend too much time on this minifigure because it does use that prison outfit, which you're going to see a bunch of in this series. Now this is the Dr. Borg minifigure that we finally got after many years of waiting liking for this minifigure. The face print of the minifigure, solid. My only issue with the minifigure is that the collar is actually printed onto the torso itself. It looks a little off if I'm being completely honest, and I definitely think the figure would have looked 10 times better if the collar was not printed on. Now this Borg minifigure is actually the first Borg minifigure that we got way back when Rebooted first came out, and this is Borg with all the evil upgrades that the Overlord implanted onto him. The dual molded hairpiece is one of my favorite parts of this minifigure, and underneath all that he's got two pretty cool face prints, but I do wish his regular Dr. Borg one had glasses on it. And next up we have Pixel. I want to first start off with this little micro minifigure of Pixel. Honestly, I just wanted to show the micro minifigure of Pixel. It's really cool. And here's the regular minifigure of that micro minifigure. Now this is the first Pixel we ever got, which we also got back in Rebooted. I do like the hairpiece of the newer minifigure more than this one, but I do really like the nice neutral face print that she's got. And she's also got an angrier face print, which was given to us to show that corrupted side that she had when the Overlord took over. Now this is Pixel's first Samurai X suit, which at the time we didn't know. We assumed, but we didn't officially know. And for a first design, I will say it's pretty good. It is not my favorite Samurai X minifigure of Pixel, but it is still a very solid design. Now this Samurai X minifigure does have two face prints, one of which I don't really like and the other I do. The one I don't like being the one that you can see the eyes through. I honestly would have been fine if this figure didn't even have two face prints. I think the second one is kind of unnecessary. Now this was Pixel's second Samurai X suit, which does kind of incorporate more of her color scheme, but still not my favorite one. I do like the addition of the white for this minifigure, and I do also like that we replaced the black armor with the gold armor. The color scheme does look a little bit off, but definitely I still think is better than the previous one. Now I actually did replace the minifigure head print of this Pixel for the original one, mainly because I wasn't a big fan of the head piece that we got for this figure. Now this non-canon minifigure is still not my favorite, but much better than the previous two minifigures. Now this figure also introduced a much better face print for her as well. The two expressions she has I also really like. Now the newest iteration of Pixel, I have to admit, is actually my favorite iteration of hers. I will say though, even though it's my favorite minifigure, this minifigure does have some flaws. The one thing I probably would change are the silver arms. Second, I don't think we needed a new face print for this minifigure, but the whole reason they gave her a new face print is so that they could give her the face print with the visor on, which again I think was completely unnecessary. We already had a pretty fantastic face print with the previous minifigure, why give her a new one? And we actually did get another new Pixel minifigure in the Build-A-Minifig in LEGO stores. This is not a Samurai X version of her, this is just more of a casual Pixel minifigure, which I absolutely love. This minifigure is more reminiscent of her original minifigure as well, and she does sport her Samurai X symbol on the back. Although still not an official figure that we've seen in the show, it's still an amazing minifigure to have. But enough about Pixel, we got Scales Jr. Not gonna spend too much time on this minifigure other than its cool custom printed minifigure. Next up, we have our first Elemental Master, which is Skyler, Master of Amber. So this is our first Skyler minifigure that we got way back when, during the Tournament of Elements era. And I gotta say, a super solid first minifigure for Skyler. Definitely love the color that they chose for her. And of course the aesthetic of the suit also fits in line with the rest of the ninja that we got in the later half of that season. Now her face print is super awesome. Her second one, kind of questionable. I do like the idea that they were going for, but it doesn't make too much sense to me. And it's only made worse because we actually never saw this in the actual show. But hey, a cool little alternative to have for the Skyler minifigure if you want. Now, no need to spend too much time on this custom minifigure. It's just the original minifigure of Skyler with some skates and a red helmet. And before y'all start commenting down below that I should use the Dragon's Rising hood for this minifigure, I'm just gonna say no to that because I'd just rather use a different helmet piece for this particular minifigure. And you'll see that for all the Elemental Masters, and there is a green version that I used for the ninja as well. Now, this variant of Skyler was first introduced in Skybound, and honestly, what a way to upgrade from the original minifigure. I also gotta say this is actually probably my favorite Skyler minifigure that we've gotten. The dark red with the yellowish orange color scheme just fits really well for this character. And she even came with a new face print. Now this next Skyler minifigure I do like. I just wish this didn't become her default look in the show. I really like the added of the gunmetal gray, which makes sense for the whole aesthetic of Hunted, which is why I don't like that this has carried over for her. Now, the original minifigure didn't come with any light printing, which is something I added because they actually added this in the show for crystallized. And instead of having two variants, I just decided to keep her with the light printing, because honestly it does make this figure look a lot better. With this minifigure, she also got a new face print, and both facial expressions fit the character, I think, pretty well. Now, this one is a custom minifigure using minifigure parts of other minifigures. Without spending too much time on this minifigure, it's just the version of her that was seen in Hunted. Not the most accurate representation, but at least you're able to make some version of that minifigure. Next up, we have the crystallized version of Skyler, which I gotta say is also a pretty solid minifigure. They brought back the dark red. The only detail I don't like is that she's got the resistance symbol on her, but in all fairness, she was in the resistance like in Hunted. The only sucky thing about this minifigure is that it's a non-canon to the show. They gave her a new minifigure and yet still decided to carry an older minifigure design into the show. And on top of that, they even gave her a new face print. The first facial expression, solid. The second one, it's kind of whatever. It's got face pin on it, you know, to kind of resemble that whole resistance thing. Unfortunate that we never got to see this figure in the show. Next up, we got the Master of Metal, Karloff. Karloff, alongside of Skyler, was one of the first elemental masters that we officially got. I just really like the gauntlets that he has, and sure, other minifigures have those gauntlets, but honestly, Karloff just makes them work. And to this day, Karloff is one of my favorite designed elemental masters. The design of the minifigure is also very nice.
Now, this completely silver version of Karloff is a custom minifigure that does not utilize official Lego parts.
The silver used in this minifigure is different to the official silver color of Lego. I just explain it off as this is just Karloff's metal form. It doesn't have to be the same material as the actual Lego silver. Now, the design of the minifigure is basically the same as the original Karloff minifigure, but just in all silver. And lastly, the one I'm not going to spend too much time on because you will be seeing this torso time and time again, is just a variant of him when they were working in the noodle factory. This does use the Lego Batman movie Arkham prison jumpsuits. I just erased the big Arkham sign in the back of the torso. Next up, we have the Master of Speed himself, Griffin Turner. The Griffin Turner minifigure is good. I gotta say, that's honestly all I have to say about him. Actually, it's a good minifigure. He does have a second face print though, which is nice, which we also never got to see in the show. And of course, the second variant I have of him is with the roller skates and the red helmet. And his last variant is the same one as the Karloff one, where once they're all in the noodle factory, they get into those orange jumpsuits. Next up is the Master of Poison herself, Tox. Now, the Tox minifigure is actually not a Ninjago minifigure, but an Ultra Agents minifigure. Someone under the Ninjago team decided to look at Ultra Agents and be like, I'm gonna take that character and use them as an elemental master. I overall really like the design of this original Tox minifigure, and to top it off, she's also got two face prints. Her second variant, again, is going to be her roller skate variant with the roller skates and the red helmet. Now, there's actually also a female version of the orange jumpsuits, because we got characters like Catwoman who were also put in Arkham Asylum. So because of that, I was able to use those torsos for Tox. And after many years, we actually got an official Ninjago version of the Elemental Master of Poison. And I gotta say, I actually really also like the updated version of her. I know a lot of people actually hate on the hairpiece that they used for her, but honestly, I actually think it fits for her. It's also good that they changed it, because then we would have had 3 characters that have the same hairpiece. The design of her torso is really unique, and I definitely think it fits the aesthetic of the character. And I'd rather take a reused piece for the legs over no leg printing at all. So A+ on that Lego. And her new face print is also really cool. Next up is going to be Mr. Pale, the Master of Light. Similar to Tox, the original Mr. Pale minifigure was actually an Ultra Agents minifigure. I'm not gonna say too much about this minifigure because it's just a cool minifigure. I do like the transparent head and just the glasses being printed on. And here we again have the skater version of Mr. Pale. Now, I will say, disclaimer, there is one part on this entire minifigure that is a knockoff part, and that is his torso, because unfortunately this figure has gotten pretty expensive. So I got a knockoff version of it. And now we also have a variant of him who's supposed to be powerless and in the noodle factory. But is he powerless? In the show, he is seen this way still invisible with the glasses, but in Dragon's Rising, when he is stripping from his power, you actually see what Mr. Pale really looks like. And this is his updated version, which we also got alongside the Tox minifigure. I like how it took the elements of the previous minifigure and honestly just made them better. On top of that, they even added a cool little symbol of his elements of power on the back of his torso. Really great upgrade for him. Next up, we've got Ash, Master of Smoke. This Ash minifigure is cool. The one thing I do want to say about this character is how people theorize that his symbol was connected to the Overlord because the Overlord and Ash use the same symbol, but I think it was just a small little overlap in design. But yeah, the detailing on this figure is really cool. And of course, we also have a variant of Ash when he's in the Noodle Factory. Next up is the Elemental Master of Shadow. This figure, as well as Ash, came in that 3-pack that Skyler came in as well. So that was one way that they gave us the Elemental Masters. The inclusion of the dual molded legs, really awesome. He is missing some printing on the legs, but hey, I'll take the dual molded legs any day. The design on the torso is also very spot on. They really were able to capture what he looked like in the show. And the same thing with the face print. The face print is also very spot on. He was also one of the Elemental Masters that aided Camille, hence why he's also got a variant with the roller skates and the red helmet. And just like the other Elemental Masters, he was forced to work in the Noodle Factory for Chen, hence why the variant. Next up is Nero, the Master of the Mind. The Nero minifigure is really awesome. I like the little reflectiveness they added to his torso. The design is really cool. The face print is really cool. Now the hairpiece, a little bit questionable. They did fix the hairpiece in the show to make it accurate to the figure. Unfortunately, the figure though was not accurate to what he originally looked like. He also has a variant in which he's got the roller skates and the helmet. But alas, this is actually a knockoff minifigure because ain't no way do I have the money to buy another Nero to make this minifigure. The only knockoff parts are the torso, and the head is also a knockoff piece. But hey, they look pretty good. And of course, Nero is also gonna have that version of him that's in the Noodle Factory. Next up, we have is Bolobo, the Master of Nature. Now this minifigure came out in the Legacy wave of Ninjago, and this is a fully new design for Bolobo and completely inaccurate to the show. But I will say it is a super cool version of the character. I'm honestly just really glad that we even got this Elemental Master. So even though it's not accurate, I'll take it any day of the week. And just like the previous Elemental Masters, he has a version in which he has the suit he used in the Noodle Factory because he was also sent there. Followed up by him is Gravis, the Master of Gravity. Gravis was included in the same set as Bolobo. The design of this minifigure is pretty cool. The one thing I don't like, and it's honestly such a minor nitpick, is that his necklace on the torso is constantly floating. I understand it's supposed to represent his elemental power, but I would have honestly preferred it not to be floating. He does have 2 face prints, one where he has his eyes closed using his elemental power, and just one without him using his elemental power, just his regular look. Now we also have his version of him in the Noodle Factory. Unlike the show version though, he doesn't have his orange headpiece. Next up is Jacob, Master of Sound, and he also came in the same set as Gravis. This is another one of those minifigures that is actually completely inaccurate to what his show counterpart looks like. But regardless of which, this Jacob minifigure is still absolutely fantastic. I love the color scheme and I love the design they gave for him. The face print of him is also really spot on, and he's actually got 2 face prints, which you can actually see here in his variant of the Noodle Factory man. And the last Elemental Master is Camille. Now this Camille minifigure actually rounds off all the Elemental Masters that were introduced in Tournament of Elements at least. I'm just really happy that we actually have all these versions of the Elemental Masters. And the Camille one, although again not accurate to her show counterpart, it's still a super fantastic minifigure. I just do wish they would have used a different face print for her, and she of course would have the version of her that's got the skates and the red helmet because she was the one that went up against Lloyd. But hey, she's also got the version of her in the Noodle Factory. The next batch of minifigures are going to be the Elemental Masters that participated in the Serpentine War, and we're going to start off with Ray. This version of him is a newer minifigure that was introduced in the newest Legacy wave this year, and the design is really spot on to what he looked like in the show. I wish he did have some arm printing with this minifigure though. He also did get new face prints. The smiley one I'm not the biggest fan of, but his more angry expression I actually do kind of like. This is a blacksmith updated version of him that was introduced for Hands of Time, and overall the design of the minifigure is really cool. I'm a big fan of the gold accents on the apron of the minifigure. The face print of the minifigure is also really well done, and he's actually got a second one one with a headband.
Now, alongside the other Rey minifigure, we also got another Maya figure. Overall, solid design that actually doesn't really represent what she looks like in the show, but I still like the design. I just think it's a nice new variant to have of her. Unfortunately, she just does use a generic face print. The inclusion of the reddish brown also doesn't bother me that much. Now, we also did get another Maya minifigure during the Hands of Time era of Ninjago, which actually this minifigure is more accurate to what she looked like during the Serpentine Wars. I do prefer this design over her legacy one, and this face print is exclusive to her, and it is double-sided. Overall, great minifigures for both Rey and Maya. Next up, we have the original Elements Master of Ice. I mean, I'm really happy that this time around Legacy introduced all the original Elements Masters, because these are figures that I never thought that we'd actually get. His design is really solid and pretty accurate to his show counterpart, and I just really like the sand blue and dark blue color scheme with the white accents. He also does have two facial expressions, one kind of smiley and another one more battle ready. The next Elemental Master is the Elemental Master of Earth, another really solid minifigure, and one thing that I keep forgetting is how this minifigure is entirely silver. I just think that's kind of unique because you don't really see that many silver torsos and legs being used in many figures. This variant is slightly less accurate to his show counterpart, especially when it comes to the face print, which does have two sides, but I'm not the biggest fan of what his face print looks like in this particular minifigure. And as of right now, the last minifigure that we've gotten up to this point is the Master of Lightning. He does utilize a headpiece that we've seen previously. I really like the metallic blue that's on her torso and legs, and I think that the dark blue and black color scheme fits for this particular version of the Master of Lightning.
Next up, we got the famous movie star Cliff Gordon. Now, this is another minifigure that uses official Lego parts and is custom printed. And this is, of course, his Fritz Donegan attire, which is the name of the character he plays, and he's also Jay's father. And yeah, this figure is also it's awesome.
Next up is the original Master of Sound. This figure is custom printed and does utilize official Lego parts, and overall it's pretty faithful to what he looks like in the show. Next up is the Master of Gravity, another custom printed minifigure that utilizes official Lego parts. The only thing that's not an official Lego part is the helmet, which has a nice chromatic look to it. Another design that's pretty faithful to its show counterpart. On top of that, it does have a second face print, so always an added bonus on that end.
Next up we have is Ronin. Now, as you may have already noticed, I use the same technique as I did with the mailman on Ronin, because this look for Ronin is just iconic. Like, the Ronin with the hat is just it's just a chef's kiss. Honestly, chef's kiss. Now, besides all that, this is actually the second best Ronin minifigure that we've ever gotten. It's just a nice, clean look, very well detailed, and very well designed. The face print is also done very nicely, and he's only got one, technically. Now, his second version, slightly worse in design, but it's still pretty good, I think. The color scheme is carried over from his previous minifigure. I'm just not the biggest fan of what they did with his design. They added like a whole bunch of mechanical stuff to him, which I just don't think suits Ronin that much. Now, here we have the Legacy version of Ronin, and this is by far the best Ronin minifigure to date, because it takes everything from the original Ronin minifigure and makes it better. So yeah, honestly, not much to say other than this figure is freaking fantastic. And they even gave him an updated face print as well. And even though we actually don't really see Ronin in prison uniform, I decided to make one of him because he does spend a lot of time in prison. So here's just that version of him.
And I made a version of him with his Legacy head as well. Now, this next minifigure is an official Lego minifigure, which is the motorcycle mechanic from series 10 of the CMF series, and I threw him in here because he is a reoccurring background character that we see in Ninjago. So not an official Ninjago minifigure, but it is a figure that we see in the show. And overall, really great minifigure.
Next up is Lil Nelson. Now, here is the very first version of Lil Nelson, and right off the bat, I will say I swapped the minifigure head. I swapped it for his newest version of the minifigure head because that's just Nelson, okay? It's Nelson. He's got a pretty cool design overall, and I like the detail of how he tried to pin a piece of paper on his back to give him an animal symbol, just like his heroes, the ninja. So it's just a nice little detail I like that they added. This next one is a custom printed minifigure of Nelson. It did also come with a custom printed face, but again, I decided to replace it with the official Nelson minifigure head, and overall they captured the design of him really well. My biggest issue with this figure is that they decided to print on the back as well, and the reason I have an issue with this is because you could see the backpack at the back, but you also don't see the straps in the front. It's a detail that kind of just floats on his back that was kind of unnecessary, but you know what? it's a nice little bonus regardless. And this is his third and official version of the minifigure. This version of him, I gotta say, is super cool. I really like this color scheme of this figure. And with this version of the minifigure, you could also see the second face print that he has. I love the whole resistance theme he's got going on with the little eyes. It's really cool how they managed to take the letter R in jargon and make it look almost like Sensei Wu. Next up is Echo Zane. Now, Echo Zane is really cool. I really like the exposed torso of this minifigure because you're able to see all the components that actually went into the Echo Zane. That's a cool detail that they added. The printing on the legs is also really well done. My only small issue with the figure is that the gold hairpiece kind of is a little offsetting to the rest of the color scheme. The face print of his is very spot on, and just like a lot of the other Zane minifigures, he's also got the port on his back.
Next up, another one of Dr. Julian's creation, Tai D. I think the designers did a really good job at building this little robot from the show. It could have just as easily been one mold, but I honestly really like the creativity with it. The only thing I don't like, which you could honestly just take off, is the helmet. And when you do take that off, you could see the nice print that's underneath. Overall, a nice solid build. Next up, we have the Nindroid Sentry General. This version was created to be security bots for Dr. Borg. The white color scheme works surprisingly well here, and with everything removed, he does keep the same aesthetic as all the other Nindroids, with all the exposed tech instead of being robed up. And his face print is pretty unique because it does wrap around all the way into the back.
The next character is going to be Kanji Khan.
Now, this figure is actually a knockoff figure. None of these parts are official Lego parts, besides the beard, which is something that I swapped, just to make it more accurate. Aside from that, the quality of the figure is actually pretty nice. Overall, design is pretty accurate to the show, and it does feature printing on both sides of the upper torso, because you can't really put the beard on top of it unless it's the flat side. So the work around that was to make sure to have all that detail both front and back. Honestly, pretty smart and a really good figure overall. Next up is Lady Iron Dragon, a really amazing figure that has a nice skirt piece to it. I really love the detail of the minifigure and the gunmetal gray color scheme. The hairpiece that she comes with too is also really awesome. And for right now, I have another head of hers on this minifigure because I'm not the biggest fan of the original minifigure head that comes with this actual minifigure. Following that, we have another version of her, Coco, and here she's in her work attire. Really nice facial expression with the face print and really nice design overall. Could have maybe used a little bit of back printing, but honestly not the biggest deal. And I also really like this hairpiece as well. And the last Coco figure we have is a casual version of her, which does reuse a torso we've seen before, but this time has a different facial expression, which I do like more than the previous one. Overall, nice simple figure. Next, we have one of the monks that we saw in Sons of Garmadon. This is a custom printed minifigure that does utilize official Lego parts. The design of it is pretty spot on to its show counterpart, and I really like how the printing actually wraps around the legs as well. A nice added bonus to the figure itself. And overall, a really well designed minifigure. And he does have a second facial expression, which is perfect for when they are meditating.
Next up, we have Hutchins.
Now, this version of Hutchins has all his armor taken down, as this was his look when we first met him in Sons of Garmadon. The original figure does have green arms, but in the show, he's got dark green arms. So I also made sure to swap those out. Overall, I really like the design of the figure. He's also got a pretty nice unique belt design. And when he's all suited up, he looks even better. And this is the official version of the minifigure. Next, we have Heavy Metal, which is actually Faith's alias. A nice use of parts from what the Dragon Hunters were wearing, and overall a nicely designed torso and legs. Pretty much all the Dragon Hunters have the same torso and legs as well. With everything removed, you could see that Heavy Metal's face is fully covered up, which in the context of the show makes complete sense, because Faith is trying to hide the fact that she's a female. And I like how the detail wraps around all the way to the back of the head. And I'm even happier that we got the actual Faith minifigure later on in the Old Town. The torso and legs are almost identical to the previous Dragon Hunter figure. My biggest issue with the minifigure is the arms, because this time around they're not the pearl gray. And this time we get a face print of Faith unmasked, and they honestly couldn't have done any better with the facial expression that she has. Even her angrier second face print is excellent. Now moving into the Wild Brain era, we have Clutch Powers.
Clutch Powers in the show has been mentioned before, but this was his first appearance within the show. And overall, I actually really do like the design of this minifigure. Clutch Powers does have two face prints, one with the eye patch and one with the eye patch removed. And here is the second face print variant. I put Clutch Powers in a hospital gown because Clutch Powers is actually sent to the hospital at one point. So that's just a cool little variant I decided to put in, and it's a nice little way to display both face prints at the same time. Next up is Akita. The Akita minifigure is just
absolutely fantastic. The amount of detail that went into this minifigure is honestly superb. The dual molded hairpiece is absolutely stunning. I love the cape as well that she has, and just the amount of detail that went into her design is amazing. She's also got two really awesome facial expressions that I think fit the character pretty well. Now, because Akita is a formling, we actually also did get her wolf variant, and honestly it's a really cool molded wolf. One thing I did want to point out actually is that the wolf has 3 tails as opposed to 4, and I only mentioned this because her cape has 4 tails. So I wonder if that was intentional or just overlooked, but still an overall awesome wolf mold. And next up we have Grimfax. Like previous legacy minifigures from this wave, it is almost nearly identical to the original Ice Samurais. I'm a really big fan of all the ice shards that are popping out on his torso and legs, and I actually really do like the dark blue color scheme here. And he does have an updated face print as well, and another one just being another facial expression. Next up, entering Prime Empire, is Scott. I remember way back when this minifigure was first introduced, we all thought it was Jay, but thankfully as Prime Empire unfolded, we soon discovered that this was a completely new character. But you can see where the confusion came from when you actually see his second face print. I mean, that's literally just a Jay face print. Overall though, this minifigure is absolutely amazing. And next up we have Okino. Now overall the Okino minifigure is pretty simple, but its simplicity is what makes it a really cool minifigure. I also do like the Unagami hairpiece in black. It really fits Okino. He does have an updated version of Carlos head print because it's double-sided. Next up we have Racer 7 or Blazy H Speed. This first Racer 7 minifigure is a custom minifigure. It's not the most accurate representation of Racer 7 in Prime Empire, but it's as close as I could get to something that I would like. This next one is an official version of the character, and yeah, it's just a cool minifigure, nothing much to say here. Cool torso. And next up we have Queen Vanya. We only have one version of this minifigure, but this version of the minifigure is absolutely amazing. I think the blue really helps the minifigure pop out, and the silver accents really also help the minifigure pop. I will say though, I'm not the biggest fan of her second facial expression. It's just one of those other facial expressions that I don't think fits the character. Next up we have a Muntz, which is Mert. This minifigure does reintroduce the hunted armor from the Dragon Hunters, this time in brown to fit with the aesthetic of the Muntz. I really like the color scheme of this minifigure. The detailing on the belt and skirt is really nice, and I really like the rock necklace that they have as well. Great figure. Next we have Glek, one of the geckos. Another design that's done really well here. Really like the added detail of the pouch on his torso. He's got this nice little menacingly face print as well, with another more worried one on the back. Next up we have Twitchy Tim. Now this is one of those minifigures that was supposed to be released a while back, but then got canceled and then got brought back again. I believe there is one thing I swapped from this minifigure, and it was the legs. I gave him dual molded legs essentially, as opposed to I believe the olive green legs that he had originally. He also does come with 2 facial expressions, and just like Clutch Powers, I made this other variant of his, a variant that we actually do see in the show, and this is just a way for me to display both facial expressions. Next up we have Bentho Mar. This figure is absolutely amazing. The amount of detail that went into this minifigure, amazing, because he's just a cool dude. And he does come with 2 face prints as well. Both face prints really fit the personality of the character, especially the second one. I think it really fits when he finally faces Kalmar at the end of Seabound. And the last character we have before Dragons Rising is Hound Dog McBrag. It's a really solid minifigure. The only thing really lacking with this minifigure is the lack of the dual molded legs. This minifigure definitely would have benefited off of that, especially because in the show he's got boots, and he's also got 2 facial expressions as well. One slightly angry face and another slightly angry face. I think for this character it might have actually been cooler if we got one variant without the glasses as well. Next up we have the Spirit of the Temple. The Spirit of the Temple is as what he's called, the Spirit of the Temple, and a really coolly designed spirit as well. And in the show there's technically 2 of them because he does have that little split, and that's why I have 2 displayed, although I do have one with his other facial expression, and his other facial expression I'm actually not that big of a fan. Next up we have Euphrasia. This is another one of those figures that I absolutely adore. The design of the minifigure is absolutely amazing. I did however swap the minifigure head for a more generic female one, because unfortunately Euphrasia just does have a generic female one in the show. And I also have a second Euphrasia minifigure displayed that has her hood down, and the reason I have this one displayed separately is because of that special hood piece that she has. Now we actually also did get a second Euphrasia minifigure, and right off the bat I gotta say I much prefer this minifigure over the previous one. The detail in the robe of this minifigure is just done a lot better, and I did add the same hood piece onto this minifigure as well. And removing that, you could see the symbol on the back, which appears to be her symbol for her elemental power, which is wind. Next up we have our little group from the City of Temples. First up, we have Blekt. Overall, he's a really coolly designed minifigure. And with Blekt, he actually also only has one facial expression. Overall, cool minifigure and actually a cool character. Next up, we have Roby. And at a first glance, I actually really do like the Roby minifigure, but in comparison to the show, it is a little bit lacking. And that mainly has to do because his robe design from the torso actually extends into the legs in the actual show. He also uses a more semi-generic minifigure head, and it also at least has a double-sided face print. The next minifigure is a security droid from the City of Temples. The lack of leg printing in comparison to the show is actually fine by me with this minifigure, but the one thing I didn't like is that this minifigure actually came with a different style hat, whereas in the show it's this style of hat. So that is definitely one thing I swapped out immediately when I got this minifigure. And here's just a better look at all the detail of the minifigure from the front and the back. And next up we have Zeatrix. And this figure is just a custom minifigure and is absolutely the same minifigure as Beatrix. The only difference is the cut up armor. But this figure is an absolute carbon copy of Beatrix, which is kind of disappointing that this is what she actually looks like in the show, but hey, at least it made it easier to actually make a custom version of this minifigure. And the last minifigure we have is Frack. Overall, the design of the minifigure is amazing. I really like the color scheme used for this minifigure, and I also really like the snake symbol he's got on the back. What I'm not the biggest fan is the headpiece. Although I greatly appreciate a headpiece that also has his hood on, I would have rather much preferred just a regular headpiece for Frack, because the inclusion of this headpiece makes me think we'll actually never get a variant without the hood. But I really hope LEGO does eventually make that piece. But outside of all that, still a really good minifigure. And those are all my minifigures pertaining to the side characters and supporting cast of the Ninjago world. But leave your thoughts down below. Which were some of your favorite minifigures, and which of these figures do you guys have in your own collection? And stay tuned as we take a look at my other minifigures in my Ninjago collection. With all that said, I'll catch you all next time. Taco out.